Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TEACHERCAST Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TEACHERCAST your home for professional development. This is Digital Learning Today, episode number 37, the second of a two-part series talking all about Canva for education. Check out episode number 34. Diane and I had an opportunity a few weeks ago to talk about Canva, how it can work, all the new features, and we were thinking, let's just bring Canva on the show. I have a very special guest, and he'll be coming on today to talk all about what's new and what he's seeing from teachers and students all around. But before we get there, Diane, how are you today? Welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Oh, so good to see you, Jeff and Scott. Great to see you too. I'm doing awesome. I hope you are. I hope all of our listeners are doing great, but I'm doing very well and trying to squeeze out these last few days of summertime.
Oh, as we are recording this, I am counting down. I've got 10 more hours to go, and it's counting down quickly. But I know you've got some time. And speaking of time, I had an opportunity over the last few weeks to sit down with your amazing book. Tell everybody a little bit about it and where they can get a hold of it these days.
Thank you so much. So you can find my book on my website. It's teachingisemotional.com, or you can go to Amazon. You can type in my name, Diane Manser. You could also type in, I didn't sign up for this book for teachers. And my book is about, sometimes, in teaching, we hit those pain points and disappointments within the profession, and we question ourselves, and how can we work through that, not get out of teaching? How can we work through that, move ourselves to empowerment within difficult situations? But the theme of my book is that we're in both a content profession and an emotional profession, and we have to see it both ways in order to be our best selves in the classroom, build our emotional strength. So thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you sharing that with our listeners.
You mentioned emotional, you mentioned professional, you mentioned content, and all of those things when you put together basically sums up Canva. I got to tell you, I've been a Canva user, a paid Canva user for over 10 years now. I remember doing Canva before Canva really got into Canva EDU. And since then, I have basically built TEACHERCAST around Canva. All the graphics, all the brand kits, all the everything. I could not do what I do right now without this great application. And I know, Diane, you've been using it for a while. What are some of the things that you've been using Canva for?
Oh, I love Canva. So I'm so excited that we have Scott on, because I want to learn more about what he's going to say and has to offer. So I get like this inside scoop. I'm so lucky. No, I use it for so many different things. Student presentations, my own personal presentations. I have a back to school night coming up in about 2 weeks, and my entire presentation and my handout to parents, guardians is from Canva. Anytime I want to, do a character profile, I teach English, themes within literature. My students and I, we head over to Canva. Yes, we have the content, but it looks so much more engaging, so much more user-friendly, and just inviting because of Canva. So we use it weekly, honestly, in my classroom.
If you are a Canva user and would love to share what you're working on with us, we would love to hear that. You can head on over to teachercast.net/contact, fill out our form, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, we would certainly love to have you. My guest today is a good friend of the show, been on numerous times. He is a podcaster, he is a speaker, he is a presenter, and he also happens to be an amazing instructional coach that just happens to be working for an amazing company called Canva. I want to bring on today my good friend, Mr. Scott Nunes. Scott, how are you today? Welcome back to TEACHERCAST.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me on, and what an intro, man. Next time I'm doing a speaking gig, you're my hype man, like it or not.
I would be more than happy to do something like that. I haven't seen you in a while. I know we caught up a little bit in ISTE, but I got to tell you, every time I tried to find you out at ISTE, your back was turned. You had a slew of people around you asking questions. The Canva booth was rocking. How have you been?
I've been great, living the dream. You mentioned Canva. I'm a former teacher, tech coach, as you mentioned, and then I went from supporting over 100 great tools to supporting my favorite tool, Canva. I too have been using it for a while, used to use it for my syllabus, did it like a quiz. I kind of hacked it a little bit back in the day and made it work for me, gamified Canva a little bit. So I've been using it since 2015. And you mentioned ISTE and how I'm doing. I'm still on a high from ISTE. That is an amazing conference. That really sets the tone for me for the whole academic year. It's great to catch up. I'm learning. I'm sharing my learnings, sharing now all the Canva goodness. I'm blessed to, get these updates when they come out. We release something like, I can't even say, it's like too much goodness out there. I don't even think I can count. Whenever I try and count, I'm like, oh no, that number's wrong. But it's, like dozens upon dozens of features we've come out with since Canva Create in May. And
well, we are prepared
wow.
to go through each and every single one of those tonight. So giddy up and hold your horses here. And again, if you have any questions about any of that stuff, because a couple of weeks ago, like I mentioned, Diane and I did a show all about this from our point of view, and we kept saying throughout the show, Scott's going to talk to us all about this. Scott's going to talk to us all about this. So the nice thing here is we have actually alphabetized them all. So here we go with. No, I'm kidding. We're not that bad yet. But we did talk last time about Canva Create. It was an amazing show. Right. What was you were there, right?
Yeah, I was boots on the ground. I was volunteering.
We see the Google shows, we see the WordPress shows, we see the Microsoft shows, we see the ISTE, but this is your company putting this on. What is it like being there, wearing the t-shirts, living it up, and going, dude, I represent all of this great stuff? What is it like being an employee there at Canva?
It brought me such joy. What was really neat for me, having been in the ed tech space for so long, going to ISTE, that's one of our pinnacles here in the States is ISTE, FETC, TCEA. I could keep going on and on, Spring Q, etc. That was like an amalgamation between that and like the Googles, the Apples, all those other ones you mentioned, and totally different being in person, being in a stadium and seeing it when it was empty before, than seeing the YouTube theater there in SoCal filled up. Just wow. And these people are just as passionate as me, and I'm very passionate about Canva. So it was really unique to see folks come together essentially for the same why. Sometimes at conferences, people will come with their own whys, but some of the best ones I've been to tend to be smaller, so you can really be concentric around that why. And that's when you get the best outcomes. This was like that, but on a grander scale. I could be wrong on these numbers. I want to say we had a couple of thousand folks come. Don't quote me. That's what it felt like. I don't know what the official numbers were on that, but just everywhere you look, there's people. They're doing cool things like putting Canva designs on tote bags. They're playing ping pong. They're talking to our team. They're giving product feedback. It was just like, oh, I wish I could bilocate and do all these things. Even though I was there from sun up to almost sundown, I still didn't even get to do everything. There was so much going on at the event, and I'm still learning about all those releases. There's so much.
I know you have the opportunity to work with school districts, and you have helped me out throughout the last couple of years, making sure that my school districts are up and running. When you're looking around and seeing how schools are using this, right?
Yes.
What is impressing you these days? What are you looking at and going, we've never thought about that, but here's this 5th grade teacher, here's this high school, here's this newspaper. What has been impressive to you and your team that you're just like, I never thought about that, but dang, that's really cool?
Yeah. There's a couple of things. There's I don't know if I can mention them by name, so I'll just kind of mention what they do. There was a business program, I'll say in the South, general geographic region there, that really uses Canva a lot for a variety of student projects. And we went to go do some observations there. Like I took engineers, I took some of the higher ups from Canva to go see classrooms and boots on the ground. And this one teacher had students give us a presentation on Canva and comparing Canva to other products. They're like, this takes this many hours in this product. It takes seconds to minutes in Canva. That's so powerful. And they did that. They're like, hey, I was working towards this certification or that certification, and now I'm wondering if I should just dig deeper into Canva because so-and-so over here is designing all these cool things like background remove for video. That's just one of the many examples. That's still on the newer side. That is a powerful tool. You don't have to go into an advanced editor and color key things anymore. I used to do that through video editing projects. It takes hours. The AI behind that and all the power in Canva behind that is so good. It's powerful. The other one would be, I've seen it used for yearbooks, and I've seen a yearbook project grow into this kind of open-ended PBL project where students can really link up with partners in the community and pitch ideas. Think like Shark Tank meets The Amazing Race. Like there's all these like embedded challenges in there, and it's all concentric around Canva, from the pitches to the videos to the marketing materials, infographics, data, all of that, data collation and displayment in terms of charts, graphs, infographics. That's all there in Canva, and it's great because it's in one tool. So you're making it easier. It's simple, it's intuitive, but yet so powerful. You could stick to just like the core things, like when I'm training the absolute noobs, our tech fragile folks who don't know anything. Like, to frame it, these people are the people who, like, you may have to tell them where the power button is. They get that tunneling effect still, like on their cameras, and the wah, 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 and you're like, okay, go here, go there. And then you get them in, and you're like, oh, how am I going to teach them Canva? Well, it's simple, intuitive, but you truncate that power. I'm like, okay, do these 4 things, use these 4 top things in the Canva editor, and then they do that in like 10-15 minutes, and then we start sprinkling some AI in there, and boom, off they go. And when those people get it, they're our biggest champions. It's not so much about like the wow, that like amazing 5th grade teacher. The wow is getting people like my mom, my mother-in-law, sorry to throw y'all under the bus, but folks that wouldn't naturally use these tools or would struggle, or or stick into like clip art from like 20 years ago because that's what they learned on, and they're so hesitant. Canva bridges that gap and then opens it up to so many spaces like AI. It makes AI and all these cool features accessible.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, Scott, and I feel the same way. I teach 9th grade English, and in some cases, the students, while they have such experience with technology, it's not always education technology. And that's something that I've learned in the last, 5 years or so of teaching, and recognizing that, like, hey, students know how to work the computer, but not necessarily programs that enhance their education. But you take them onto Canva to perhaps just like make something that we're doing in literature, as an example, just more exciting and more engaging, or for them to do a presentation or share out to the class, and they can do some basic things and it looks amazing, and it's very encouraging to them because then they have the confidence to play around with some other features because it didn't take them so long to produce just one product. And that's something that I very much appreciate from Canva, because it not only takes like the student who's kind of more in a beginner look amazing, but then every student wants to go back in and try some different things. It doesn't take them long to do that. So thank you for that great, and like you said, it's so accessible to any user, because you can do a deep dive, you can get complicated with anything, or you can just look great with the simple features too.
Scott, it's one of those tools that I if I say I use it 100 times a day, that's an understatement, right? Like it is my second world over here. And I've been trying to find one new feature a week, which is easy to do. I recently found something called Brand Fetch, which is basically a service that is built into Canva. And you can go to brandfetch.com, I think it is. But basically, if you're a company, you can put up there your fonts, your colors, your logos, And so when I am working with companies, when we are doing these shows, I can just pull up Canva, Microsoft, Sony, you name it, and there's their logos. I don't actually have to, drop out, go to do a Google search to try to find the Camtasia logo, for example. Like, all of these companies have their logos already designed in there. Time saver. Like, just serious time saver for all of that stuff. Because if I'm going to be making making an image of this show with Canva, well, obviously Canva is in there, but I mean, like, you've got your colors, you got your brand, you got your fonts, it makes things so much easier. Hack question, Scott. Your favorite feature to talk about when you do PD that doesn't start with the letters A or I.
A or I. Oh, I gotcha. Canva whiteboards.
Ooh.
Favorite feature. Underrated. Heavily. Can I tell you more?
Yes, please.
Because
yes.
I want to. Yeah. I want to push back at that, as again, I'm 10 hours from the future here.
I also want to say, I love that Jeff is spending his last 10 hours with us, Scott. Don't you feel so honored?
Yeah.
I do.
I'm like,
Jeff,
yeah,
man, that he's spending his last few hours of his precious, gorgeous summer, where he's worked very hard, just so everyone knows, working hard for all of us to do better in our classroom spaces. Jeff is doing that for us, and he's spending his last few hours with us. Jeff, I just sending you to love, man.
No. I gotta be honest, and Scott knows.
I'll throw it up too.
This isn't Scott coming on the show. This is Scott doing me a favor, and after this, he's gonna make sure that my Canva classrooms are set up correctly for me.
I love it.
More Canva work.
There you go.
This is 100%. I'm trying to get Scott on the clock while he's off the clock.
That's fantastic.
That's all of this is. Here's my problem with Canva docs, and then please show us how wonderful this thing is. But I teach an intro class. It's middle school. I am scared to death that I'm going to teach something and then it's going to go horribly wrong behind my back, right? I love whiteboards. You and I are talking. I love whiteboards. But then what do you do when you're teaching and something comes up on the whiteboard that doesn't look like it should be on the whiteboard? I'm going to back off from that conversation because, let's face it, this is going to happen. I am the digital learning teacher that hates digital learning, right? So talk to us all about this wonderful stuff, but also please sprinkle in.
Talk about that management piece.
That management piece.
Okay. So here's how I'd like to break it up. I'd like to break it up by setting the foundation and using our business partners as a model, something that they're doing great within Canva, specifically Canva whiteboards that I've seen them do. That's a huge time saver, huge, and increases efficiency, increases engagement, increases interest, all those same things we're looking for. Weave in the 4 C's. All these frameworks, from like shout out to John Carippo and Marlena Hebern, right? Edu protocols, right? You can bring in the 5 E's. You can sail the 7 C's with Kathy Kursnowski and Becky Keene. You can do all the things. Station rotation, all those things. Shout out to Catlin Tucker. You could be like Matt Miller and ditch some things too along the way, but don't ditch that tech. And what they do is they use it to collate ideas. So think, I'm going to use you as an example, Diane, but you can use this for PE even. It's not limited to any subject. Physics is another one I like demoing. Math with whiteboards. And so setting the stage, business partners like Expedia have come out and said, hey, Canva has helped save us 77%, or I think it's higher, forgive me, on Expedia. It's 93% on their design time, meaning for some of their assets, something like a short website, a brochure, posters, and I may be wrong on the digital assets, but whatever their equivalent is, it's saving them that much time because everybody's in the same product. And so what I want to illustrate with whiteboards is not just whiteboards, but start with whiteboards and then use a feature called Magic Switch, which has been around for a while, but you could take any Canva document or doc type and switch it to another one. And so I'm going to frame that scenario. So let's say we're in your ninth grade classroom. I'm going to say, this is unlikely in ninth grade, but I taught 10th grade, and even though it's at sixth grade level, let's say we're doing something fun like the Hunger Games. I can go into the whiteboard, specifically chapter 18. We're talking about Katniss and Rue and their relationship, and we're talking about themes. And so we can do a character list in a whiteboard. Okay, let's kind of, put some sticky notes, put those in the whiteboard. Who are our characters? Let's set the stage here. Let's put some attributes. Okay, Katniss and Rue are like this. We're going to kind of do a header sticky note for Katniss, one for Rue. What attributes do they have? Let's do a Venn diagram, or we could do like a little sketch and tell if we're layering different frameworks, borrowing from Edu protocols, like where one student kind of uses the draw tool on the whiteboard and sketches a little bit about Katniss. So Katniss represents this and draws it out. The other one, who's maybe a little more analytical, just puts some bullet points and then have a brief conversation about that. And then we can talk about the themes. What themes are you seeing? What themes have we talked about? Like the 7 deadly sins throughout the whole novel. Which ones are present there? Okay, we got some gluttony. We got like some lust, like lust for power. What else is there? Maybe a little bit of sloth there. Yeah, pride. Oh, pride's like in every chapter in that book, right? It's gleaming with pride. And so we can have students work that out. Well, then let's say we're preparing for our essay on that. We're going to write an essay. Okay, you're giving them the essay. We have all these ideas. How do we put it together? We go to Magic Switch in the whiteboard or actually, I got to back up a step before I do that. We can grab those ideas and group them using AI sort. So what you do is you grab the sticky notes you want or the elements you want, text, it can be images too, and then you'll see 3 dots. You click on the 3 dots and you go down to sort. It gives you 3 options. I may be wrong on the order, but it's like topic, name, and color. So you can sort by the color of the sticky note if you want to be really thematic there, like maybe students are doing topic sentences on like the theme of love, like talking about Katniss, and I can't remember the boy's name. I taught this for years. I'm blanking right now, but is it
Peeta?
Gale?
Gail, yeah.
Yeah, well, Peeta, but and Peeta and their relationship. Thank you. And you could talk about that theme, or even like the love, kind of like the sisterly love between Katniss and Rue, right? And have these examples from the book to illustrate that, kind of put in your topic, sentence, thesis, all those things. And then you can sort by name, by color, by topic. And if you choose something like by topic, that's where the AI jumps in and it'll do a really good job of putting in subheaders. Put it to the test. May not be perfect. What I recommend is if it's not giving you what you want, try adding a little bit more. If you're light on content, it may struggle a little bit. It takes about 10 to 15 seconds for it to do its sort. If it's, having trouble synthesizing information, maybe give it a little less, like group it smaller, but generally it does pretty good. And then once you've sorted it, what it does is it gives you these nice little subheaders. Well, then when you go to Magic Switch, you can then switch that to a doc. You could say transform into a doc. And then what it does is the AI does like a deep overhaul, and it analyzes that data even more for about 30 seconds to a minute, maybe more, depending on how many sticky notes. Like if your class is going and you have like 200 sticky notes, give it about a minute or two. It's going to take just a little bit longer. The AI is working hard to collate all that data and kind of map it out for you. And what's cool is sometimes I'll ask it a question. I'll put a sticky with some questions like, how do you use Canva in this? If I'm working on a lesson plan, or if I want to lead me, what would a good outline be? Or what would a good counter argument to this be? The AI will try and assist you. It doesn't always hit the mark and nothing's perfect, but it does a really good job. And then what it does, because where Canva is, it gives you a nice pretty header at the top, gives you this beautiful document with these headings, subheadings, bullet points, and little pieces. And now you have a review guide. You have the start of an outline for your essay. It's a positive way to use AI. You're giving students that skill. Canva's loaded with AI. That's a very natural way to use it. And then, because every day we read, we write, we speak, per Anita Archer and her work, we got to present on this. Let's present on this. So then you convert it again into a presentation. And now this is that time saving. So in seconds to minutes, we've gone from this collaborative whiteboard, we've gone through our lesson, the EDI portion, some activities, and now we have our little brainstorm, we have our outline and our little study guide, and then we have the start of a presentation that's ready to go. And then students can modify that and, individually in small groups and pairs. You chunk it however you need to differentiate for your classroom. And so you're just loaded up with assets. Now, questions or pieces there, then I want to touch on the management piece, because that's a lot.
I love that. And I've used whiteboards in my own classroom too, exactly the way you've described it, for that collaboration. And just in case for our listeners too, just to clarify or to add on to it, everyone can be working on it at the same time. And that's the beauty of it too. So it's all happening in real time. It's like that online corkboard in a way. And I like what you said, Scott, is that each student, because we want to recognize and validate that our students are different kinds of learners, that if you do better with sort of like, let's say graphics, or you do better with charts, diagrams, Venn diagrams you had mentioned, or any kind of like sun mapping, but I personally do better with like the words, the outline, the longer sentences. Each learner can approach it as they need to. Arrows, color coding, but yeah, I've used whiteboards a lot, and just simply for that small group collaboration piece, it's an excellent tool. I'd love to hear more about what you have to say about the management. 'Cause I'm with Jeff. I've had students in my class too take advantage of those things, and they pop up a word or an image or a website that should not be on there, and then everyone sees it, and then boop, it's off.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
you abused this opportunity, you took advantage of this, and I don't really know who it is. Sometimes you do know who it is, but you can't target them because you don't have the evidence or the data to back it up. So I'd love to know some of your, especially as a former instructional coach, like what would you do to help your teachers through that?
Yeah, just know things can and will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's real with you, that's par for the course. Those things are going to happen. Now we have to talk about, how do you lessen that? How do you mitigate that? How do you turn that into a learning moment and really leverage it? The way you don't do it is flip out. Keep your calm. You can use Magic Writing Canva to help you with that parent email that you may have to write if you do find the student. Some of the safeguards in there. Canva's content library is pretty amazing, especially for education. We've worked so hard to help make it safe for school. So we call it our Safe for School content library. So it goes through, removes a lot of that more mature content. So I feel very, very good about mentioning pulling the content from there. To your point, you mentioned pulling the content from elsewhere. That comes from the training. So what I did in my classroom and what I would instruct my teachers to do is really, and you have to have the right environment for this, but so maybe a little bit of something that's not possible for some districts that are super scripted. This wouldn't fly in one of those districts because you have to start teaching day 1 or day 2 or whatever. But in an ideal world, and I was blessed to have this autonomy in my classroom and in my district, was I could focus on policies, procedures, taking a page from the Wongs there, RIP to Harry Wong, who passed away somewhat recently, getting in front of those things and, hey, we're going to do this. So I wouldn't do a big Hunger Games project like that in whiteboard for my first one. I'd do something really small. Let's just do a sticky note and then kind of prep them ahead of time, have a conversation. Hey, here's what I don't want, setting that. And up to you. There's some different styles. Some people would say, oh, we're going to remove that. I don't like giving that option. That empowers the students to sort of use tech in a way that bad actors might, like, oh, there's real power. If I do this, we're going to ruin it for the whole class. Like, no, it's going to open up a series of conversations, and I'm just gonna really be talking to you a little bit more, and we're really gonna work through something. So if you're doing that, you're basically saying, hey, pay a lot of attention to me, Mr. Nunes. And that's okay, but be upfront. If you need a lot of attention, there's other ways. Like, let's have some chats. I'll help you through whatever it is that you need help with. And what you can do there too is use the version history. Again, nothing is perfect, but if you're seeing that image fly up, you could check how you situate your room is really helpful. So if you do a technique that I call bilocating, it's just what I like to call it. I called it that when I was doing instructional technology as a coach, and I brought it into Canva, is anytime I'm doing an EDI portion of my lesson, I won't do that live. I'll pre-record it and have it in something like the LMS or just in Canva, and I'll share the link to it, go here, and I'll play it at the front of the class, and then I can be moving around the classroom. So I had both traditional and non-traditional seating, and so I could walk around. That's one technique, and you're using the space you have. So if you're in traditional rows, you could be in the back playing that video in the front, and guess what? If you got one of these, you can use this as your remote within Canva to move through to the next piece in your presentation. And I'd record myself doing the EDI portion of the lesson. And it's also great because for all those kiddos that miss, right? Absenteeism is such a thing now. Instead of getting asked the first 3 to 5 minutes of every class period, what we do, keep it in a centralized location. You direct them. And LMS is a great place to store that, or you have just a, set of lessons. Maybe use Canva lessons for that. And you're like, okay, you were gone Monday through Wednesday. Look at the Canva lessons on that. They're all there in the lessons for the week, and watch those lectures. And then if you have questions after, let's set some time to talk about that. You frame it in a way that's going to work for you. And I've had really good outcomes. Now, do you still have those learning moments? Oh yeah. I'm the guy, I don't want to curse here, but back in the day when Kahoot, before they had you be anonymous, I had some students that got really into Kahoot, and they put a suggestive name there, and it was at the end of the bell. They played me very well. And I was like, the winner is, and it was an expletive, and it was such a way, it was like a first and last name kind of thing. You say them by themselves, it's fine, but you say them really fast, and you get something interesting, right? So I don't think you can do worse than that as an educator. And you just learn from those things. You're like, hey, that was pretty smart. That was a whole class collaboration right there. That's the 4 C's. That's some critical thinking and creativity, and they had to communicate there. So it is tricky on the parent side. It is tricky with those things. You have to have those conversations. Give yourself some grace. I know we're under fire, but again, use that magic writing Canva to write that email and set the stage. Keep it very small. What you can do within a whiteboard too is, once it's shared out, let's say there are some folks behaving like bad actors or making poor decisions at the time, you can lock it down. You can turn off that access. They can't move or edit anything at that point. And then you can, choose to have a conversation or have that contingency plan already in place, figure out what your next step is. And maybe you just control the whiteboard and you go to small groups and have them report, something like that.
Well, Scott, I don't think I'm any more ready to go to school tomorrow, but I think I'm a little bit more confident in some of the things that I'll be working on. And while you were talking, I'm sitting here going from whiteboard to docs to presentations and playing with all of these different things. So, do you do Canva docs? Do you do Google Docs? Do you do Word docs? I'm looking forward to at least trying all of that stuff. And, I've never used a Canva classroom. That's something I'm looking forward to trying. So let me ask you that. I mean, I'm in a Google-based school. Is the recommendation to create a Google Classroom and work from that and then assign things from, or is the recommendation have a Google Classroom and a Canva classroom? And if so, how do those things kind of sync up with all that?
Well, I'll preface it with this. It's really user and teacher choice here. My recommendation, my preference would be to leverage the LMS because it's really structured in such a way to connect with the gradebook. So that's the time savings and, the quick wins that it provides. So and it can quickly pull from Canva or you push it from Canva to there. Go ahead, Jeff.
Instead of creating a Canva classroom, create the assignment in Canva. Assign it through Google, and that way at least you can see it. You can get because I don't know. I'm one of those teachers where I don't like assigning things and then asking people to share with me. I want to have total control over that from day one.
Yeah. So I do like it for that. So they do have to share it with you. There's a cool new feature, and once you get up and running, I like cool new features. And here's how I would use this one. Canva lesson. So you're asking about the classroom structure. I see the biggest possibility with lessons. And the way it works is very similar to when you have your standard trainings. I see all these memes now and jokes and TikToks, etc. about and your bloodborne pathogen training and your sexual harassment training and all those things we have to do every year, which are good and necessary, but also draining. You're I just want to get into my classroom and prep this. It's go time. Let's go on this. Well, you can do lessons and videos. I don't know how many offhand we have. We have a lot in there that are ready to go. Let's say you need a science one, which, by the way, shout out if there are any science and maybe math teachers that are on the Canva creative side, are a little more advanced and you want to create some lessons and content. We're actively reaching out right now. So just check out Canva EDU on Twitter/X. Check it out on the other social medias at Canva. And I believe on LinkedIn, I've posted about it. I don't know when this will post, but I think the week of August 9th, somewhere in there, I did a post. If you go through my Twitter and after the show, I can repost it again, but that'd be a great opportunity as well. And with lessons, you can say, hey, do these things, and they can follow that order, similar to a hyperdoc, similar to those trainings. Watch a video, they have to watch the whole video. And keep in mind, this is probably version 2 for us. It's gotten better. It's still going to get better. So the feedback you have, we're going to listen to. Tag us on Twitter, tag us on Instagram, Facebook, whichever social media you're on, or if you're a Canva for Districts user, contact your rep, your district engagement advocate, and let them know which feature requests you have. We listen. There's been times where we've literally done something that day. I had a client who wanted more brand kits. We used to have a limit of 100 brand kits. And I was in a meeting with engineers. I said, hey, I'm getting this request from this district. And based upon that conversation with the client, they listened. They said, oh, we can do that. By end of that day or the next day, it was really quick. they changed that, and it went from 100 to 300, and we've listened. There's been a lot of feature requests like that have directly come from educators. So if you want to see Canva grow and see Canva grow in a particular way that suits you, like Jeff, you're great with ideas, man. Tag Canva, because they're going to listen sincerely. You have a great mind for creativity and critical thinking, and you look at things like you poke holes in it, buddy. I'm like, oh man, always challenging me, but it's a good thing. They love it. They want those challenges, like what you're talking about with the classroom stuff.
I just want a homepage that I can clean up. I've been asking you that for years. Okay, here's my only gripe. I know I'm still recording, but when you first turn on to Canva, it says recent designs. I just want that to be a folder system. That's all I want, because it's, I want to put stuff away neatly. That's the OCD pop.
You want your folders up front.
I want the folders up front. That's where I think with things. But you were saying Canva lessons. Is that the same thing as Canva courses? Because I did wanted to ask you about Canva courses.
Yeah. So interchangeable.
Because I am not seeing courses on the front page. I can do a search. I can do a Google search for Canva courses and it pops up, but like I haven't.
So for EDU, they're lessons.
Because I'm not on an because I'm on my TEACHERCAST tenant.
Right. So for business, it would be courses, because they're not doing lessons. They're doing courses. Like think of HR for somebody big. We'll just take Expedia because we were talking about them. Their HR for their new marketing folks are going to do a course. They're not going to call it a lesson. So semantics, but same functionality.
So there's a few other things that I'd love to kind of dive in here that Diane and I were talking about. The magic resize for me, lifesaver, right? Like every show I do a square and I do a rectangle. The Canva AI, the Canva docs. I love the AI art generator. I gotta be honest, I'm still trying to wrap my head around video. I'm a Final Cut guy. I'm a nonlinear guy. Like I'm trying to wrap my head around Canva video, and you don't have every single I'm trying to put Final Cut in a Canva world.
Right.
We've talked about that stuff, but where are we with video? It's a work in progress. It's coming. It's great.
There's always more, some new features, and I'm gonna butcher the name of the actual feature. Let me let my brain catch up for a sec. And it's still not coming to me, but you can remove the background noise. It has a specific feature. So if you're out in a public place, like I forget, it showed at Canva Create, it showed Cameron, one of our co-founders, in a busy space, like the Taronga Zoo. I don't know where he was exactly, but you take a busy place, it'll do a really good job of taking out that background noise. So for student podcasting, for amateur podcasts, like I know we're using some pretty sweet software here, but hey, when you're starting out, if you want to do something free, Canva can be used for that too. Is it designed for that, specifically? No, but you get a lot within Canva, and it can be used for that. We've had lots of teachers do that and ask for student podcasting specifically, and I think it's a great first place. I know we're talking about the video. You can also do a lot of transitions. One of my favorites is I think it's called Match and Move. So in between little video clips, there's 3 dots there. There's a little plus that'll appear. You can hit transitions. There's one where, again, forgive me the exact title of it, but you can have it have the AI essentially do the transitions across all of your video clips, which is pretty cool, and it does a really good job. And I like Match and Move because if you're going from maybe like a series of photos, like Canva does this really cool thing where they'll have like all of these different reels kind of moving like up and down the page, going opposite each other, and each one has like little sub pictures or sub videos. Well, then if you pop one out on the next frame, that transition is super cool. It matches that and really accentuates that, giving you some really high-end features. I would recommend checking the work we did with the Cannes Film Festival. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of the work that film festival did, like the participants in there, they were using Canva for that. So I know there's some stuff there. So you can scale it up. Per your point, though, Jeff, are we, full-blown high-end video? No, we're not, because we're staying simple and intuitive. So you can do video, and you can do a lot in video very fast, but if you're doing a movie, well, you can technically do it. We're not optimized to be like your full-blown high-end movie production piece, at least yet. But if enough people make that feature request, you never know. We are listening.
There's one more feature in here that I want to have you talk a little bit about, because I've seen it change a little bit, and I know that it's something that I've talked about both as a coach and try to get other teachers in my buildings, which is Canva websites.
Yeah.
It's gone through a little bit of change, but you can basically make a few slides, and in one or two buttons, those slides are now, they have a URL to them. Like, it is a
Yes.
I've used that with my students when we've created character profiles or book recommendations. We use infographics all the time, because like that's what I was mentioning a while ago about, like, that's such a very accessible, easy to reach for all users. Make that infographic. But yeah, websites, we've used it. And then Jeff mentioned, a couple of episodes ago about how you want to do that business card, that intro. Like, a website could be that next stop for your students. Like, let's promote ourselves, let's see where we are, where are we, when are we, where are we going. Yeah, think about a history class, making a website about a historian or some public figure or some event that has occurred, whether currently or within the past. Yeah, websites. I mean, and what you have available on Canva, it is it's easy to use, and you can make it look fantastic in a short period of time. So I'd love to hear more from you, Scott, about what's new in the websites. But yeah, use them often. Love it.
Well, I don't know that this is new per se, but again, I'm about saving time and being efficient. You mentioned being able to do lots of different things with the websites, similar to what I did with the whole whiteboard to a doc to a presentation, creating these assets. I'm hearing some things. I'm hearing some branded assets. I'm hearing a business card. I'm hearing character profiles and displays. Well, when I think about those things, I may not innately think about their original creation happening in a website. It may, but there's a huge value in going from something like a presentation, like maybe you do a little presentation or a poster, and then you use the magic switch to convert it to a website. That's really powerful. And then what you can get there too is you can get the analytics, and you can see how many times it's been viewed. So if you do have your school's permission, every school's different, right? You can either lock things down with Canva for districts and have things be more siloed to where students can't publish to the world, or maybe they share with the teacher, then the teacher is allowed to share out to the world, depending on grade level, district permissions, all of that. That's where websites are a little tricky, is, districts around the country are all different. Some allow people to do that. Some people don't, even for teachers. Some don't want their teachers even doing websites. So if you do have the permission, I recommend thinking about it very systematically, looking at not just producing one resource, but thinking on this like global kind of industry level, where you're thinking about something you're doing as multiple assets. So, and you can even break this up in a class. Like maybe you start with something like an outline or a presentation, and then, okay, Susie is going to make a website profile on Romeo, and Jerome is going to do one on Mercutio, and Tamika is going to make one on the Capulets as a whole, and do kind of, get all the sub players in there, and somebody's going to focus on Nurse and maybe do like a whimsical play on like her jokes, because it's very like tongue-in-cheek. We don't necessarily get it now, but when the kids get it, they're like, oh wow, that's up there, that's some pretty raunchy stuff, Mr. Nunes. Or making it multimedia, where you have some video, you have some assets, maybe pulling in bars and charts and graphs. There's a feature in one of the graphs where you can do a race. That's really cool, especially for social science, for business, for any kind of situation where there's a bit of data and things are moving. Think psychology. A good example would be the top richest people in the world over the last 20 years. Like if you had all that data and you put it into Canva in this graph, and then you had it do the race, you could demonstrate like, oh, here's Bill Gates, he's kind of going up, and then here's Mark Zuckerberg, and here's these other people, and then here's Elon Musk, and they're kind of trading places. Or World War II stats. I mean, it's really sad what happened, of course, but those are some of the coolest displays, because you're seeing the casualties and the wins and losses, and just wow, you're making the learning come alive. That would be cool to go from a video and sort of use the website as a curation tool. So it's not a new feature, but it's a new use.
What was that? Back up a couple seconds, because I do binge watch those data videos, and it took me a while to realize that he's probably just making that in Canva. But isn't that Shell with that? Isn't that the application that does all the data racing and stuff like that? Is that a third-party company, or is that all done for free in Canva?
That can be done in Canva. It works really well. You can either input the data manually, which takes a little more time. But if you have it in a CSV, so you bring it in from Google, Microsoft, wherever you're doing your spreadsheets,
right,
import it as a CSV, boom. For you teachers out there doing bulk create, here's a game changer. This has been around for a while, but let's say you're doing name tags like first day. You want a little name tag on the desk, you got all set up. It's designed in Canva. You have like a little field in brackets for their name, like first name, last name, and then, I don't know, maybe you want to gamify. Like I love gamifying my classroom. So maybe you're putting them on a team like, oh, okay, this is, District 12 going with that Hunger Games theme. Okay, and you're District 1, and really differentiating the groups there within the class. You could do all that in Canva, and you have that data like the first name, the last name, and whatever information you need, maybe which team they're on. You can pull up that CSV, use bulk create, and then you sort of just map the fields from the CSV to the fields in Canva, and boom, like that. Or you're planning a PD at your site. You have 200 people coming back to school night, parent teacher night. You have all these things. You just put in their fields from the CSV, and it'll generate that design. Talk about like a custom newsletter within Canva. That's a way to do it. You can personalize content using bulk create. You can have the bulk of it, but then you can change each individual one to like Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Gonzalez. And then what I like to do, right, you have to have the classroom management piece down first, would help the students to then add in a personal piece to their newsletter, which serves as a portfolio as well, gives a window into the classroom, and buys you some buy-in from the parents as well. And the students are sending the newsletter, saving you a ton of time. It's empowering them. It's giving them that skill. saving you time. You're really in that role of the facilitator, and you're empowering them. You give them the template, you have the scaffolds, they're adding a little bit, you're using the AI to make the labels really quick. Okay, you put the parent's name or guardian's name at the top, it's personalized, and then the kiddo adds a little bit more personalization, and you could have quick comments that you've taken from their work in a CSV, upload that and have it auto populate, so you're not thinking on the fly like, oh, what's the positive thing about Tommy, or about Eric. No, it's already down, and you just populate. Okay, Eric's positive. This is Eric here at the top. Positive comment. Boom. And maybe I recommend you have a specific example too. If you can have that, you can even attach images in there. It's really cool. Huge time saver.
Well, Scott, we can certainly have you talk about this for hours.
Yeah, like your 10 hours. Let's go all night. Yeah. Let's binge.
Read that. No, I'm just joking around. I still have a couple days of summer. No, I'm only kidding.
Scott, seriously, like there's so much that can happen here on Canva, and of course, there's a lot of great communities out there. If anybody is out there looking to get in touch with Canva as a community, or just to kind of get into that, educator mindset, where do you suggest them going? Is it just go to canva.com? Is there an EDU site? Where can we go to learn how to be a part of the tribe?
Yeah, to get Canva for your districts, go to canva.com/education and see about getting a district account. If you're not sure, just apply. Somebody like me will reach out and let you know, oh yeah, you have it already, or no, you don't have it. And then we can partner up to make sure everybody in the district can get it, because it's 100% free for K12 school districts. The other thing is, follow us on Twitter at Canva EDU and join our Facebook community. So just search up, Canva Facebook community. It'll come right up in Facebook, and then, tag us across social media. Follow us on social media at Canva, and you never know, maybe we'll follow you back, take your ideas. We'd love to see more educators at the next Canva Create as well. And then, of course, at conferences that we're at, like ISTE.
Nice. And Scott, one more time, thank you so much for coming on and kind of rounding out this two-part section. We're, of course, going to make sure that all of our links for Canva and all of the shows that we've done throughout the years are located on this show. This is Digital Learning Today, episode number 37. And Diane, I don't know, I've been zoning out, but I've been listening. I've been playing as Scott's been talking. I know I'm going to go back and listen to this whole thing probably while I'm driving to work tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really excited. So Scott,
thank you so much.
I'm so sorry to cut in. I'm really excited about the video part, because I've used the website features with my students, and now I can put like that podcast opportunity or video collaboration in the website. And I'm like, so just hearing you talk, I'm getting really excited about a future project with that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And it's been really great to meet you and to talk with you. Thank you for being on with us tonight.
No, my pleasure. Thank you all.
And one more time, thank you to Diane and to Scott for being on the show today. If you guys would like to be on the show, please head on over to teachercast.net/contact. We'd love to feature you, your classroom, your coaching department, or even just the great things that make you a fantastic educator. And that wraps up this episode of Digital Learning Today. On behalf of Diane and Scott and everybody here on TEACHERCAST, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you guys to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.